Companies traditionally they used to distribute their products through a single marketing channel. But what has happened, because now companies they have expanded, they want to enter in many customer segments, many different customer markets. So what they're doing, they're expanding their distribution systems as well. So they're using multi-channel distribution systems, or they are opting multi-channel distribution strategy. So it's kind of a distribution system in which a single firm it sets up two or more marketing channels to reach one or more customer segments. So here what we need to understand that companies they also realize that if they really want to penetrate into market, and if they want to really reach to their actual customers and to their potential customers, just opting a single marketing channel would be insufficient, because companies keep into account their customers convenience when they are setting up these distribution systems. So let's look at here at this diagram, and we see that this producer, what it is doing, it is directly selling to consumer segment one via its catalog, online marketing, and through mobile marketing. And then this producer has another channel in which there is a one marketing intermediary, that is retailer. The producer is giving product directly to the retailer. Then in let's look into these business, how they are dealing with these business segments. So this producer is basically giving its product to the distributor, and then distributor is delivering it to the dealer, and the dealer is distributing it to the firms, those who want to buy that product. And then producers they also have sales force which go face to face and interact with consumers and sell products to these buyers in the business market. So here what we need to understand that when it is mostly about business to business marketing, that we call B2B marketing, mostly firms they go for personal selling, and they have sales force which is trained to identify the prospects, and then they make sales pitch, they go make presentations, they negotiate with the firms, and they make product available to the firms according to their specifications and requirement. So in this scenario, this producer is using two channels for providing products to the consumer markets, and two channels for providing products to the buyers in the business markets. So what we need to understand that these multi-channels basically it helps companies to expand, to capitalize on marketing opportunities that are available. And but what along with that, we also need to understand that dealing and controlling these multi-channels may be complex for the firm. Now let's look into the changing channel organization. We need to understand that changes in technology and the explosive growth of direct and online marketing are having profound impact on the nature and design of marketing channels. We have seen that this technology has tremendously brought a shift in marketing practices. Many companies, they have eliminated many of the marketing intermediaries. Many have involved a lot of marketing intermediaries because of these technology. And one major trend is towards disintermediation, a big term with a clear message and important consequences. There was a time when people they used to go to these real estate agents, but now you can post your own advertisement online, and the consumers will respond to you. So there are many industries in which this intermediation has taken place. It's like cutting out the marketing channels by reducing the intermediaries, and what happened, it's basically the displacement of traditional sellers by radical new types of intermediaries. So there's a shift in this trend, there is a disintermediation. Many of the marketing intermediaries has been eliminated in this process, and many a times many have been added to the channel. So let's look into the channel design decisions. So like these channel design decisions are very important, and like everything else in marketing, good channel design, it begins with analyzing customer needs. So whenever you are focusing on designing these marketing channels, or you're making design decisions for these channels, What you need to understand is the consumer need. Remember, marketing channels are actually customer value delivery networks. So you have to opt for those marketing channels which can optimize convenience for your consumers. Where they want the product to be available, you should use that mean or that particular channel. Now, for designing effective marketing channels, these decisions must include analyzing customer needs and then setting channel objectives and identifying major channel alternatives. And then it's about evaluating these alternatives that the firm come across. Now, how can we analyze customer needs? Like, we need to understand, we have to ask these questions. Do consumers want to buy nearby, or they are willing to travel to more centralized locations? So we need to look into uh, the fact that where they want to buy the product nearby, or are they really willing to go and enjoy it somewhere else. So would customers rather buy in person or by phone or online? So this is another very important question: which method or means they want to use to buy the product. There are many products for which consumer they really feel like that they don't need to go out. They can just order the product online and the product will reach to them. And do they value breadth of assortments, or do they prefer specialization? So this is also a very important uh, question, because this will help you to understand where you should place your product. Because if they are preferring specialization, then it's mean that you should keep them on specialty stores. But if they are basically valuing the breadth of assortments, then you can place them in any mega mart or in a supermarket. Another important question that firms they must ask from their customers, or they must look into the fact that what level of customer service their customer they are desiring. We need to understand, many customers they want the company to deliver the product, to install the product, and they also want after sale services like repair, like warranty and guarantee. And the firm they should also understand that are their customers willing to obtain these services from elsewhere if company is not providing these services. So here, firms they must ask all these questions. They must analyze their consumer needs before they start designing their channels, before they make the decisions for their channels. And the companies they must also rationalize uh, their capacity, their resources, because your customer may be wanting a lot, but can you actually provide them? Is it feasible for the firm? So company must create a balance between what consumer is desiring and what firm can provide to the consumers. And they should also set up their marketing channel objectives, and these objectives must be in terms of targeted level of customer services that the company is planning to provide to the customers. And companies, when we look into the companies, we know that usually they are identifying several segments, and these segments they are very different in terms of their need, in terms of their level of service that they're looking for. And for example, you may be working in a service industry, and for example you're providing a transport service. So both firms, either they are railroads or service providers, or either they are basically airline service providers, they know that their customers they want different level of service from them. For example, people those who are traveling in business class, they want a different set of service. And the people those who are traveling in economy class, they're looking forward for a very different kind of services. So companies they must identify the segment and the segment needs, and they must have this clear distinction of which segments want what, and that is very important. And companies they should decide which segments to serve and the best channels to use in each case. So when your customers they are from different segments, they have different needs, so you must decide for every particular segment which channel suits best and which should be opted. And so when companies are planning all this, they're setting all these objectives for every segment. The company actually wants to minimize the total channel cost of meeting customer service requirements. They try to optimize it, and they want to be saving the cost. And then these channel objectives are also influenced by other factors like the nature of the company that you are, what are your products, what are your marketing intermediaries, who you are competing with, and the environment in which you are doing all these activities. So, companies selling perishable products, for example, may require more direct marketing. So, companies those are selling products which are perishable, they should go for direct marketing. And direct marketing is basically companies they go out directly reaching to the customers via telephone, via email, via catalogs. So that's a way of like you send your marketing material to the consumer to convince them, to persuade them to buy your products, or to create awareness or information regarding what you are offering to the consumers. Like, and in some cases a company may want to compete in or near the same outlets that carry the competitors products. At times they're even competing for the shelf spaces. Companies they want their products to be placed next to their competitors products, and this is kind of a very good strategy. The location is very important. So I can ensure you that in many products category we've seen that the firms those who are selling same kind of products, they are placed on the same location. And it's because the consumer traffic is there, and many a times companies they want consumers to compare their products from the competing products. So that's why they would try to get a store just next to their competitor store, or they want to have a space on shelf just next to the competitor's products. And then we should also take into account these environmental factors like the economic conditions and the legal constraints, because they may affect the objectives and the design. And we should understand that when companies are going internationally, these economic conditions and legal constraint may be different from one country to another country. Companies they also identify major alternatives, and identifying these major alternatives require companies to understand that there are different types of intermediaries. So they should understand which type of intermediary will suit their objectives, and they must identify the number of intermediaries that they must involve, and what is the responsibility that each channel member is going to perform. So company must take into account all these things. So here what we need to understand that company should identify the type of channel members available to carry out its channel work. So it must look into the prospects, which companies, which channel members are available to the firm. And many times that happens at companies, they have a lot of choice to opt for a channel member. And there are two ways that companies they can basically go about. Maybe they start directly selling to the final consumer or to the business buyers. As initially Dell started its business, it was selling its product through online and through sophisticated telephonic conversations to firms, to individuals, and to governments. And then when Dell grew its business and competitors like Apple and Samsung they entered into the market, then to compete the competition, Dell started selling indirectly through value-added resellers, independent distributors, and dealers, because they were customizing these products for the consumers. So they started selling these products through these means. And here what we need to understand that uh, in this scenario Dell mentions that many a times it has to face conflict, because many a times when its sales representatives they are selling the product, the value added resellers they come up with complaint that they are cutting their margins. And many a times its sales representative complains about the resellers cutting their profits or competing directly with them. Now let's look into this uh, the number of distribution channels that firms they can go about. There are basically three different types of these channel strategies that companies they may go about. Like they can go for intensive distribution. We need to understand the psychology behind this or the rationale behind this. Companies, when they understand that the kind of product that they are selling to the consumer is desired by them, uh, anywhere, anytime. So they try to make it available. They go for these extensive distribution systems in which they try to make product available everywhere, anytime the consumer want to buy. They place their products there, and mostly companies, they go about this kind of strategy to give a good brand exposure to their firm. And we see in case of FMCGs, these fast moving consumer goods, mostly companies, they are almost all companies, they're going for this intensive distributions. These let's say these candies, toothpastes, tea leaves, they're available everywhere in every stores. In millions of stores these products are available. Same brand is available in millions of different sort of retail. And so this basically is known as the intensive distribution. And then there is another extreme. On the other extreme, it is known as the very exclusive distribution. Companies, they have very few uh, dealers. They have these approved dealers or certified dealers. Only those dealers are basically allowed to deal with companies products. And many a times companies, they have their own exclusive distribution outlets. So mostly when companies, they are selling exclusive brands, when they are selling luxury items, they go for these this exclusive distribution strategy. And then the third one, which is the moderate kind of a strategy, which is somewhere between intensive distribution and exclusive distribution, is known as the selective distribution. And companies, what they do that, we know that in this category of furniture, home appliances and electronics, what happens that they are present in few number of outlets. So that is known as the, when your products, they are available in fewer outlets or fewer positions or locations, that is basically known as the selective distribution. Now let's look into the channel management decisions. So the marketing channel management is basically about selecting, managing, motivating individual channel members and evaluating their performance. So it's about selecting your channel members, and not just selecting them, it's about managing them effectively. Then you have to keep a partnership, you have to provide support to them, you have to motivate them. And then you keep on, during this entire course of performance, you keep evaluating these channel members, you keep on controlling them, you keep on directing them, you keep on monitoring their performance. So now what we need to understand, that firms, they have different capability or different ability to attract qualified marketing intermediaries. At times they have this kind of portfolio that it's really very easy for them to attract qualified marketing intermediaries. Like when Toyota wanted to introduce its Lexus in US market, many dealers came up and they wanted to work with Toyota, and there were so many resellers that they turned down few of them. And when Timex watches, which were, it is like moderate price watch, when they wanted to sell their watches through jewelers, they were facing many difficulties, and many of these resellers, they turned them down. And then company came up with those firms which were going for mass distribution of such kinds of products. So companies, they have different ability to track these qualified marketing intermediaries. And when they are selecting these intermediaries, they should determine the characteristics or that distinguish the better ones. So they should look into the number of years the channel member is in business, and what other lines of products they are carrying, and the locations where they are making these products available, their growth and profit record, their cooperativeness, and their reputation in the market. So all these characteristics will help firms to identify better marketing channels. So companies, they should be able to manage and motivate their marketing channels. Companies, they should not consider these channel members as some independent firms. Rather, they should look them as first line customers, and they are should consider them a business partner. They should create harmony in relationship. They should go for partnership relationship management. This partnership or this partner relationship management is talking about a long term relationship. It is talking about a chemistry which is benefiting both the company and its channel member. So they should come up with cohesive value delivery system. So there should be support, there should be rapport between the two. So the firms, they must come up with a strategy to not just manage but motivate the channel members. They must come up with a kind of bond that is fruitful in the long run for the company and for its channel member as well. We have seen in many cases these firms, they are a separate entity but they are working like a cohesive partners. They are supporting one another. They consider their collective goals and collective vision as more important than their individual goals and their individual profits. Now, companies, they must regularly check channel members' performance against their sale quotas, average inventory levels, customer delivery time, treatment of damage and lost goods, cooperation in companies' promotion and training programs and services to the customer. The company should also recognize and reward intermediaries that are performing well and adding value for customers. So those that are performing poorly should be assisted, or last resort they must be replaced. So companies, they keep on evaluating, monitoring their performance, the performance of these channel members, and they must recognize if somebody is doing well, they must be appreciated. If somebody is underperforming, they must be provided support, they must be guided, they must be trained. And in many cases we have seen this, that the companies, they are also supporting not just their channel members, that they are also supporting and educating their suppliers as well. Now let's look into the methods of public policy and distribution decisions. Companies, they go for exclusive distribution. When seller allows only certain outlets to carry its products, these are basically the certified dealers. And then companies, they go for exclusive dealing. It is when the seller requires the dealers not handle competitors' products. So they're just dealing with the company's products. They cannot keep the products of competitors on their stores. And then there is this is known as the exclusive territorial agreements, in which the producer or seller limits the territory. So at times the company is just limiting itself, like by saying that in this territory you are going to be the only person who can distribute our products, or the dealers, they're saying that this is a territory in which only they are going to sell the company's product. And then finally, the tying agreements are agreements where the dealer must take most or all of the line. So they're agreements. You make them sell your products, mostly your products, and um, or all of the line. Finally, I'm giving you an assignments. Write a brief note in which you discuss the nature and importance of marketing, logistics, and integrated supply chain management. By this, I'm ending this chapter, and inshallah, in the next video, we are going to start the other chapter.